Hello, everyone, and welcome to the State of the Guild for February 2015. This is Inevitable Trail's first State of the Guild for the new year. So we took a little hiatus, and now we're back. So let's get started. So first off, achievements, because what would we do without achievements for the 3 cold months here in the U.S., especially now here in Denver that we're being buried in a snowstorm. So it's really nice to look at the nice sunny Azeroth that's going on there. So first off, some things happened here. On Warlords of Draenor, they've added achievements.
Yay!
But they've only added 10 more. So how did they do this? Well, basically they took away 5 general achieves, 1 PvP achieves, and they also took 5 achieves in Mist of Pandaria and made them feats of strength. So that's why you saw on our slide, we actually now have 5 feats of strength. So grats all.
Woot!
So, thank you, canned crowd. The other thing we have is we've also completed all the achieves for Heroic Draenor Guild dungeons, except for Skyrage and Iron Docks. And probably the reason why these guys aren't there is probably because they have nothing to do with the legendary ring. So those are the... Yeah, no, those are the last 2 we need to take care of, and then we'll go ahead and get the Warlords of Draenor achieved for all the heroic dungeons. For the group, we got the Rookmar Guild run, so we all got the Rookmar down, the World Boss achieves done, we got the Goliath of Gorg run, that was for killing Palna and also killing Drove, so we all got that as a guild achieve, so grats everyone. So as I said here, we have heroic dungeons we need to finish. These would be really quick and easy achieves to do. 3 or more guildies can go ahead and knock those out. And again, it would have to be on heroic difficulty, not on normal. Next up, we have professions. We need to make 916 more glyphs, which means a lot of you have been buying your glyphs on the auction house instead of going ahead
the shame.
and... I know, the shame. Instead of seeing if any guildie can make them.
Your guildies are here for you.
Exactly, and guildies will give it to you free. The other thing is fish. So as we talked a little bit about in guild chat prior to this, at last count this morning, we only had 457 more fish to go to be caught from pools to get the achieve. And I know Shemai will talk about achieve here a little bit. So again, we have some really quick and easy achieves to knock out. Let's go ahead and try to get those cleaned out. Our February numbers, again, 211 of 262. 49,543 fish caught from pools, 55,172 dailies, 95,303 honorable kills from the battlegrounds. Oh look, we have achieved Crittergeddon.
Yes. About Crittergeddon last November. For those of you who didn't know.
Yes, we did. We got ahead. We killed all of our critters. Might have actually been during a slow day, but we've achieved Crittergeddon. So what does this mean? Well, basically, we in the last 3 months we did 5 achieves completed. We caught over 9,000 fish. We did we did 8,800 dailies. Obviously, you can tell where we spent a lot of our time. 21,895 honorable kills in battlegrounds.
That's a lot of fighting.
So I think it's also a lot of people going for their 620 gear, and also some things that Cloud has been putting together, which we'll talk about later on in the presentation. And we got our 3,500 critters we needed to get Crittergeddon. Raw. So we have gone ahead and taken them down. I'll go ahead and turn over to Shemai for the fishing report.
Okay, so, I was just thinking, I don't know if we're the most fishingest guild out there, but I'd hazard a guess we're at least in the top 10. So far, as things stand, we've cleared 3 of the guild-wide achieves for fishing. Our very last one we're working on here is like fish in a barrel, like shooting fish in a barrel, where we're working on approaching 50,000 fish from pools. And as Quappy mentioned, we're just a few hundred shy. So as we're fishing today, we'll get I think a little bit closer to that, and I don't think we're going to be waiting much longer before we've completed all the guild-wide fishing achieves. So thanks to all the fisher persons out there. Let's keep going strong until we nab that one. Hooray. So this next part we'll talk about too, and this is something that I don't know if everyone's kind of caught our initial kind of YouTube about the new Ask Mr. Robot combat logs, but we're going to kind of open this up with a little segment we'll call Keeping Up with the DPS Joneses. Just to kind of talk about looking at and using the new combat logs. If for those of you who haven't checked it out yet, please do. This is some really, really good stuff. We've talked a long time about using games as tools for benchmarking and performance and trying to figure out assessment and how the assessment can work towards learning. And this is a really great example of that, I think. So if you didn't catch the initial YouTube, I'd recommend that. But Quabi's going to have you take a look at some of the screens and give us some idea of what's possible to do with using these new metrics measurement tools.
And I'm going to jump in, and I'm going to ask Grid to jump in really quickly, because we've been having a lot of discussions about games and assessments in our guild. And what Grid was saying, and please feel free to jump in, Grid, that we are take a look at how much we are looking at Ask Mr. Robot. And how much, whether we love it or hate it, we're still looking at the feedback, going in, seeing what can be improved, how our performance can be tweaked. We're looking at the numbers, we're making comparison to other people's numbers, and now just think about how much of this we're doing in an actual game, and how much assessment really makes you go and reflect on things. And after you reflect on things, go and improve it. And think more about if school was like Mr. Robot, what would that look like?
Yes, definitely. And that's one of the things to keep in mind is that really what Ask Mr. Robot allows us to do is go ahead and really sort of imply and implement that continuous improvement cycle that a lot of places that we have. It's also a way it's also something that's coming to education as well. I mean, we're moving into analytics right now, learner analytics. You're starting to see people using predictive models as far as enrollment, as far as peak enrollment, as far as what's going on, as far as optimal class size, things like that. But now we're also going to go ahead and move into, hopefully as we get more tools, we'll move into something that gives us feedback that we can use as instructors or administrators to sort of help with the learner experience. So keep that frame of reference in mind whenever we look over this. And so this is an example of Ask Mr. Robot. You can look up your character. It'll give you your normal character piece. Obviously, this is my Raider character, Kuapi. And then over here you have the combat logs. So these are combat logs. Now, how do these get created? We talked about this in the YouTube video, and so I'll go over it very, very quickly. Basically, somebody has to have the add-on. They have to log the file, and then they have to upload the file after the raid is done to get access to this data. And you only need to have one person in there to go ahead and grab that piece. So this is what's going on right now. So this is, again, he's a tank, so I'm looking at his damage dealt as a tank, and what I'm specifically looking at here is right here I have Heroic Strike. This is one of the abilities that I have. I can actually drop down that menu and pick any offensive spell that I can use as for my class. I can pick that, and it'll show me a little line right here that shows when I hit that button. So obviously I'm not hitting Heroic Strike a lot. It's not really on my menu. It's not really on my menu. It's something I use a lot. Here's Rage for me. So as a warrior, this is energy and mana. If you're a caster, the warrior equivalent is Rage. And then I went ahead and I picked specific attacks that I use here to tell me uptime for various things. And so what you have here is, what I'm really looking at right now is Ultimatum. This is something that I have that is set up where basically anytime this procs, I get a free Heroic Strike that gives me that's automatically a crit. So that's a big hit for a big guy like Kawapi. And so what I'm looking for is this. So see how how long it was before I actually spent the heroic strike here. And then again, you have the same things. Here I missed one. So this tells me obviously there's things I need to work on to go ahead and improve. So from a defensive standpoint, I should say from an offensive standpoint, that's what this is showing for me. Same thing here for sudden death. I'm looking at sudden death and how long sudden death occurs. In a warrior, sudden death is a free execute, which is a great big huge hit. So I actually want to make this time frame here as short as possible because I want it to proc as many times as possible. Because if I don't use the proc right away, then all of a sudden it's gonna another one might come up and I'll lose that one. So it shows up as potential lost DPS for my class. So these are things to think about whenever you're looking at the different stats that are there. Now let me move to actually what the tank does. So this is damage taken. So you can see here lots of damage was taken over this fight. This is actually the heroic butcher fight. So I went ahead and looked at what was there. First off, we have Amplify Magic. You can see there's 2 applications of Amplify Magic. But the thing is, we had 2 mages, so there should ideally be 4 applications of Amplify Magic here, given the time frame that Butcher allows you to survive. The other thing I'm looking at here is my Rage. Notice I have a big plateau here where my Rage maxed out. This is a bad thing for a tank. I want to spend Rage as much as possible. So me having this amount of Rage here tells me that I need to actually go ahead and utilize it more. Basically, Shield Wall is a big cooldown. It shows me how long I was able to use that. Shield Barrier. As a tank, I use Shield Barrier, which is an absorb, more than I use Shield Block, which is a block. And so this is what I use a lot. You see sometimes there's a good uptime, sometimes there's not. Basically, the other thing here you see is Power Word Shield from here from basically getting from a priest, and you can see the little line for how long the shield was up. You do see some overlap of shield and shield barrier. This is one of those things you have to watch out for because having 2 shields up doesn't really help you a lot, especially since both shields are on a timer. But those are things to look at as we're going through it. So there's different pieces you can see in this slide. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to Kay to talk about differences in Warlords and Draenor. Oh, go ahead.
Jump in just really quick, just to dovetail on what you just did. So, I mean, in going over the tanks, I mean, what I see Crappie doing, and just to kind of take a step back, I mean, he's taking what he knows about the class, right, and using the information and kind of making sense of it. So he's doing a lot of sense making of the data, right? So as we're encouraging you to kind of look at the information, I mean, that's a big piece of it, is to try to take what you know about your class and take a look and try to make sense of what happened during a particular fight. You can go back for example to like Icy Veins or Noxic, some of the references we've talked about before that have talked about, well, here's an ideal rotation for maximal DPS, or here's maximal, here's your best rotation or combination for heals, whatever your role might be, and try to take that, go back, reference that, take a look at the data and kind of go through that process of sense making. One other piece I wanted to mention too, and this is something we had talked about. A lot of you would know too that there's also the aspect of how one kind of approaches and receives this information, right? And it's not just sort of on a logical level about, okay, let me make sense of it, given what I know about the class and things like that, but there's also that emotional piece, and that's, I'm sure teachers are very familiar with this, especially if you work with young students, where you also have to be sort of savvy or realize that the way that information comes across or the way that assessment takes place does also have sort of like an emotional impact or a social impact, and take that in consideration. In terms of taking care of yourself when you're looking at this, try not to beat yourself up. I know when for certain fights where I really fall short of the mark, my own mark. I kind of like, bite the dust early. I'm going to go in knowing that my stats are not going to look good, right? I mean, nowhere near what I want. And just, kind of be cognizant of that as you're going through and kind of making sense of this. Try not to be too tough on yourself. And also understand, too, that, the intent of this, for us as a guild, has always been in trying to help, kind of do the learning experience thing, right? Try to do it optimally, support one another in our development or our learning, and that's really the intent around introducing this, because here's a powerful new tool that we're really excited about. I think it can really help us a lot in many ways, especially for our development and our skill and knowledge. But don't think of this as sort of, well, gosh, I'm not doing as well as I want, and I kind of sort of afraid of that. We're really approaching it from the standpoint of having it be a supportive tool for our development. And so we'll talk about in a little bit, some opportunities that we have to work together, right, as teams and as guildmates, to kind of support that sort of process as we're kind of incorporating these tools, into what we do.
Well, exactly, and that's the thing is really the really good thing about looking at analytics and anyone looking at the piece and interpreting it is what Astro's Robot does, gives you benchmarks to look off of, and that's the piece. It is sometimes hard to divorce yourself emotionally from your performance, and I will say that if anyone, like I said, at least in the form of our guild, a lot of this is leaving it up to personal review as well. But the other thing is that we're not trying to point out deficiencies. What it is, it's looking at areas where you excel at. It looks at strengths, looks at weaknesses. It also looks at how can we be a better a better overall player. So that's really sort of the goal of this type of information is, you can't have just quantitative analysis, and there's also a qualitative piece here. Right. And the qualitative piece I left out, and so anybody watching this who's outside of our guild will go, oh my God, look at all the damage he's taking. He really sucks as a tank. Well, the thing is that in our build, for the way our raid team is set up, is that really Kuapi is set up not as a damage mitigation tank, but actually as a DPS tank. The way I play my tank here is to help out our DPS with downing bosses, and the other tank is actually more of the standard mitigation tank. And so as we improve as a group, the hope is, as the rest of the group improves, I will be able to refocus Kuapi back onto the mitigation side of things. Once we get everybody else up into a level that everyone's comfortable with, where the DPS is going, we don't need that help anymore. It's much more important now that you mitigate damage instead of trying to help us out on the DPS end. So that's the qualitative side of things that we also need to have. So again, as someone who's looking at this data, you'll definitely obviously be able to see the quantitative. And as Grid didn't come on mic and say, but she typed into the chat here in Hangout, she said using data to inform. And that's really what the big thing is. The big thing here is this is another way for you to evaluate your performance against something else. This is the first time you've actually been able to say, this is for my character, this is my spec, how do I compare against somebody else about a general average? And again, you're playing against the average. And how do I rank against all the other players who are playing my class and fighting the same boss at the same level? So this is the first time you've had a normalization of comparison at your fingertips.
And at the same time, it's the first time I think we really had a tool that allows us, once you kind of, you start with your own kind of personal performance, you're kind of as an individual trying to get your head around it, make some sense. But at the same time, once you kind of get that, it also is giving us a really great way to understand how how we as individuals are working together, right, as a team. It's good because it's much easier then to kind of say, okay, now I got maybe a better sense of what's going on for me. How is what I'm doing interacting with, right, the rest of the team? Throughout the encounter. So there's there's that opportunity to really sort of evolve the perspective and your understanding of of that raid mechanic for a particular fight and as a team in general.
Well, exactly, and that's the nice thing about this piece is I see a lot of chatter here in the guild chat. Some people saying they need a bigger chart for weaknesses, and others are saying that they need to have yes, this looks good. This is something we need to look at. Again, talking about the composition, because the other nice thing about it is if you notice on the slide here, there's a healed by list here that I didn't activate, but actually I could easily see what was going on from the healing side of things. if I look on it as a per healer basis. So I would actually have the healing side going up and down on this chart as well if I wanted to really confuse you all with what was going on.
And what I wanted to just jump in and say, like how we were saying about if coaches and mentoring and stuff like that, but especially about coaching, think about the data that a coach would now have to help you. Instead of going like, oh, okay, let's take you to the training dummies and see what number you're getting on recount. If you want somebody to help coach you, and there was an article in, I think the New York Times a little while back about how everyone needs a coach. Like surgeons are hiring coaches so they can figure out how they can make more operations successful. But the thing of it is, this gives you data that somebody who's coaching would be able to take a look at and go, oh, let's look at, well, how about if you did this spell this time rather than that time? Or how about you put up the shield at here? And, oh, that's when you were moving? And a big thing, and I think it was Jocelyn who brought it out like to us, like going, oh, I'm not pre-potting. I think I'm pre-potting, but I'm not pre-potting. So, yeah, and Vanessa just typed in, it's competency-based. Is the boss dead or no? Exactly.
Yeah, and one last thing before we move on is Grid also, again, instead of getting on mic, she went ahead and through chat, is that she said it's formative versus summative evaluation, and that's really sort of what we're talking about. Is before Ask Mr. Robot, really we only had the summative assessment. Did you kill the boss or not? And now what you have is this formative assessment where you can make a run at a boss, you can pull up the Ask Mr. Robot data, and like literally, if you want to load it after every single fight, it takes about 20 seconds, 30 seconds to go ahead and do it. And you can actually see very much right immediately after the fight what's going on and what your performance was and where you need to go ahead and change your strategy. So that's the different pieces that you see here. Is you can go ahead and really utilize this to sort of look at your performance. You can look at it. You can also look at somebody else if someone else is in your raid, because it does work for LFRs, by the way. You can upload your LFR data here as well, but only for Highmall and BlackRock Foundry. But you can also look at your LFR performance individually and see what's going on. And if there is someone else in your group that was a similar class or spec, you can also look at their performance as well. Ask Mr. Robot is trying to go ahead and add the comparison feature, but there's no date on when it'll be available. But eventually you actually will be able to compare your stats side by side with somebody else's. And so that'll give you, again, yet another level of performance and assessment to look and see what's going on. Yeah, people are saying, yes, but doesn't LFR stand for less practices? Or for worse practices, I should say.
Well, it can't, yeah. But I mean, that's been huge. I want to say that's been one of the coolest thing about these new combat logs is that it's given me a chance to kind of look at, okay, well, not only what did I do, right, but someone else who's in my class who did just as well or even better, especially if they've done better during an encounter. It's given me a perspective. Now I can actually look in details, like, okay, well, what went on, right? So where were their what kind of emphasis were they putting on their rotation in terms of the spells they were casting? When did they do it? If we were kind of favoring the same spells, gives me a chance to try to figure out, well, how did they get more throughput out of it, right? So there's a lot of really good stuff in there that to kind of go through like that. That's really helpful.
All right, so go ahead and we'll move on to the next slide, which is difference in World Rare. So we'll turn it over to Kay.
Okay, just some things that most of you have been in raids so far have seen. And these are things that, as a guild, we're going to have to adjust to, because this was not how we played in Mists of Pandaria. Someone put enrage times are faster. Well, I would say more than just enrage times are faster. There's more enrage timers. If anybody remembers what it was like on the Protectors in Warlords of Draenor, I'm sorry, in Mists of Pandaria, think about how long and how our heals would just heal us through it, and we just take our time. So a big difference that we have that we didn't have before there are more enraged timers. And I would agree that they are faster. Yeah, like Jocelyn just wrote, 5 minutes or you're out. Now, another thing that you've been seeing, especially if you are melee, there's little forgiveness on boss moves. So when a boss moves, and I'm going to use Kargath as example, but you know, Butcher isn't giving us any more forgiveness either. The thing of it is that before you might have been able to maybe cut a corner or maybe have him step on you or something like that, and maybe you didn't take much damage, or maybe the healers were able to put a quick heal on you to get you through that. Now, in Warlords of Draenor, if you're up there, if you're melee, you have to get out of the boss's way. The thing about reses are now on a timer. Before, we used to pack our group with, oh, who can res? Bring your quill in, that kind of stuff. At this point in time, we don't have it. In a 5-minute fight, the chances of us getting 2 reses out are very, very slim. So basically, we usually don't have time to res more than one person. And if that person, dies in, say, the beginning of the fight, during the first 50%, we're likely to wipe. So the last thing I just wanted to say that the mechanics are less forgiving. So there's certain things that we can't finesse necessarily that we did before.
Exactly, and that's things that we're seeing as well. And we said to the group overall, even when Warlords of Draenor first came out, even the heroic dungeons are run like little mini raids, and so you really see that Blizz has gone back to looking at mastery, looking at, do you master the mechanics? Do you know what's going on? So those are some different things that we can go ahead and nicely dovetails in this next part here, which is something that the officers have looked at and said, this is some stuff that we realize that we probably do need to do a bit more for the guild, and that is start looking for different ways we can do training. Because, come on, we're mostly educators and trainers here. So this should be something that comes natural to all of us. But as we know, sometimes trainers don't make the best students. No. So the first thing we thought about was asynchronous mentors. Hemet started this off with his big write-up of the Shadow Priest in the Google Plus community, and when I saw this, I was like, aha, this is something that we need. It would be awesome. And what it would be is that players would be sharing what works for them. So if you go back and find that post, it was on January 21st. Hemo talked about, this is what my rotation is. This is what my, this is what I'm noticing. I can't dot anymore because I'm actually losing DPS if I go ahead and put on my dots as a Shadow Priest. But the thing is looking at that as different players and different pieces that are there. So definitely could use the Google Plus community. You could also, if you felt like it, you could do a Hangout and just put a link to the Hangout up there. Hangout definitely makes it easier for you to sort of show you playing the class and demonstrating that as well. If you're not the writing type of person, you'd rather be on camera, go for that as well. We have lots of different media to go ahead and utilize. So, that's different pieces that we can look at, is that asynchronous mentoring pieces, because really for mentoring is about going, this is how I was successful. And the idea behind mentoring is that the mentee would seek to model their experience, their choices, the way they do things. They would seek to model it after their mentor. So that's sort of what really mentoring is about, is saying, this is how I do things. This is what worked for me. Maybe you guys can try it out and see if it works for you. And again, there is some individuality. Some things won't work for somebody. For instance, if somebody is all about keybinds and using their keyboard for everything, and you're more of a mouse click person, that type of thing may not work for you. But the thing about it is definitely having a write-up about it gives you a place to start. So that's one way. So we're definitely looking for people who are pretty confident and feel they are doing well. in their performance. If you guys can share what you're doing and how are you getting the numbers that you're getting, whether that's healing, whether that is DPS, whether it's tanking, different things like that. If you feel that you're performing really well on what you're doing, definitely go ahead and share that information with the guild. I think there's lots of people who would definitely love to be able to read up more about that and find out more things that way. So the next,
can I just say something? Does it have to be quite? I don't think that it has to be quite this detailed. Like it could be a very specific, small focus of, you know, a particular skill, a particular strategy that is used. I mean, this one obviously is like, you know, very detailed and would give everything. But you could perhaps provide this kind of advice for at a much smaller scale, correct?
Exactly. It doesn't have to be as laid out. It doesn't have to follow the same format that Hemet did. But it is just sharing things with people. It could be little things. It could be, you know, noticing things like, you know, I had a conversation recently with shaman, and they're talking about elemental shamans, and it looks like that during the last patch they flipped one of the spell abilities, where instead of casting Chain Lightning after Earthquake, you now want to cast Chain Lightning before Earthquake. To get the bonus damage from Earthquake. So there's little things like that. So it's little tips, little tricks that you see. It's posting them there and letting people sort of figure out what it is. And I would just simply say probably what I'd like to do is just try to keep some sort of format. So maybe just make sure that you list that, oh, this is the class discussion for, you know, Windwalker monks, or a class discussion for frost mages, or some sort of identifier there that says what spec you're specifically talking about, to help people sort through it and see what's there. So the next piece is coaches. We're looking for coaches, and then probably I'm sure that some of you may be looking for coaches. We're looking for people who are willing to be coaches. And how we're defining coaching is one-on-one meetings with guildies. And really things we're going to be looking at is we would be discussing the Ask Mr. Robot data. We'll be talking about the individual's interface, so you'd probably be hopping on Hangout or something along those lines, where basically you can look how somebody has their screen set up so you guys can actually share that. Talking about how an individual player does things, and also the goal is improvement over time. Now we will say sort of Shamai touched on this earlier, is if you enter into a coaching relationship, there will be critiques made. So what you do will be critiqued. But the thing is, you have to realize is that the only reason why we're making a critique is to help you be better. We're not trying to go ahead and change what they're doing. We're not really just trying to get people to feel bad about what they're doing. The goal is for you to get better at what you do. It's the same thing that every teacher tries to do and every coach tries to do. It's you. Number one, everybody comes to every coach with a certain amount of raw ability. And really what the coach does is that you want to go ahead and help that person achieve their highest potential at what they're doing. And so in our case, we want you to feel very confident in playing the game. We want you to play the game to really know your class really well. We want you to be successful on what your goals are. And so that'll be probably part of your first statement is laying out what is the goal that you have. What do you want to do? What are your outcomes, the anticipated outcomes of why you're doing that? So what I will say is that if you want to coach, send me an in-game email to Kawapi. And if you want to be a coach, again, send me an in-game email to Kawapi. So that way I have one place where I can grab everything, and it's one email, and then that way I can go ahead and start making a list of coaches. And also, if you want to coach, you know, and if you're requesting, whether you want to be a coach or you're requesting help, let me know what class and what spec you're looking for. So those are some things there, so we can help sort of match people up. And so that's what you're looking for here with the coaching setup. So you're seeing sort of a scaffolding piece here. We have the mentoring, which is very informal, which is posting your tips and tricks, posting what you find is working for your class. Coaching is very much finding someone who is has experience in the class that you're playing, or who is a good overall player in World of Warcraft, matching them up with other people who feel they need help, and then basically going ahead and working to help everyone get better. And the last piece here is looking at meetings. I'm going to turn this over to Kay to sort of talk about what we mean by the meetings. But last thing I'm going to say is that doing a lot of one-on-one meetings and stuff like that, we don't necessarily have all the time in the world to do one-on-one meetings, so one-on-one coaching. So we would need to have some ways to go ahead and meet with groups at a time.
So here's what we were thinking about. And they don't necessarily even have to be pre-raid meetings, but we were thinking that perhaps that we can get some groups together to talk about specific things like melee, and as I mentioned before, and about how, especially around Kargath, you really have to move out of the way, and different techniques other people to they stay out of the way. That's one of the possibilities. We could do another one for healers or tanks or whatever else. But just setting up some informal things, and I think that Amendable has even discussed this before as kind of like support groups for different classes or different types. So that's some of the things we'd like to start setting up soon.
Yeah, and there's different things. I mean, the other thing is with Hangout is we could also do a meeting at Hangout. Again, we're limited, unfortunately, to 10. But like the film sessions, the thing I was thinking about there would be, actually looking at the raid boss, or if we started taping some of our performances, you can even share it. You can actually share a YouTube video to other people inside Hangout, and you can pause and start the video as you want. So you can actually have people watch a segment, pause it, and then talk about a segment. So there's a lot of different ways we can bring different ways to sort of help look at how we can improve our performance as a group. So next up, if anyone else has any other, first of all, does anyone else have anything you want to say about the group meetings, or coaching or mentoring?
Yeah, just really quick. I mean, I'm kind of excited by this, and I know some of we've been having talks about this, and some of you may be kind of getting into this sort of fresh, right? So you may be hearing it a little bit different, but I'm really excited by this because especially for us on R&D. I mean, the reality is that we've improved quite a bit in the time that we've been together and working on this. But one of the things that's really apparent is that as we progress, things will just continue to challenge and get harder and harder and harder. So we're always going to be kind of pushing the curve, not dominating. We'll get one boss on farm, and the next boss is going to kick our butts. So that I really feel like this. I'm excited by this prospect, especially like reviewing film, because there's something that we can't get just from static data. I mean, the combat logs are going to be great. I think they're going to add a lot, but being able to kind of incorporate what we're seeing there with kind of some film sessions where we're actually kind of okay, let's watch the encounter, let's see what happened, let's talk about it, process it. I think that's going to really help us kind of begin to develop on a team level, right? Really integrate that knowledge of kind of what's going on for me, what am I thinking at a time when this is happening for you, and why did we respond this way? Can we maybe think about going this way with it? I mean, we'll get a chance to kind of really process as a team, I think, much more effectively, and that I would anticipate that would get us a lot further, a lot faster. But anyways, just to add that little bit of context too, for those of you again that are hearing this fresh and maybe you don't have the benefit of some of the processing we've already done around this.
Well, exactly, and I think that's something we all have to remember, is that every time an expansion comes out, it's like any sort of update in any learning management system, or in anything that any sort of software that you ever use before. There's always going to be unique things you're going to have to relearn. You have to relearn the interface. You have to get used to what commands still work. And see what the differences are between different editions, because as we found out, Blizz likes to tweak things, and what happened is they felt that Mist of Pandaria, it was too easy, and so now they're swinging to the other side of the pendulum where this is getting back to where mechanics matter. You can't find a way to cheat the mechanic. You now have to actually know what's going on. So this is a really good way to look at And I think I'm very excited about all the tools we have access to now, especially with Ashes for Robot and all the different pieces that we're playing around with, all the different add-ons that are there. So there's a lot of tools that can help us improve. And speaking of performance and looking at overall assessment, next up is Kay, talking about the R&D group process, progress, I should say, as well what our rankings are.
Okay, so far we have 4 out of 7 normal on High Mall and 1 out of 7 heroic, and this is for the R&D group. And we're still looking at the metrics of WoW Heroes and Guild Ox, and so you can see where we are. Now this is using WoW Heroes, and this is the combined realm. On the combined realm, we're 31st. We're 11th if you just look at Sisters of Elune, so that would be like we were the last expansion. And then 6th, we're the 6th rank sixth rank rating group on Sisters of Elune Horde side. And the thing about it that's kind of interesting, and Chris was pointing out to me earlier, was, you know, like Dead Man's Party, not, you know, not finding it, and some of the others, you know, they're not doing the kind of progression. So interesting. Together We Are Terrific is still up there, and they were the ones that we always look like. And Paradise Lost, Salvation and Hassan Uns, all of those, we weren't playing around. We weren't in competition with them last time. And then if we look over at Guild Ox, there we are. And at that point in time, let's see, our twin Ogren, when we tried pulling it earlier, it seems it's taking a bit longer to get on there. So our twin Ogren from yesterday wasn't on. But if we look at it here, and this is without our latest one, there we are. 20th on the Combined Realm, 9th on SOE, and again, the 6th rank SOE Horde.
And by the way, 20th out of a much longer list than we're looking at there. We're not 20th out of 20. We're 20th out of, I don't know, how many are on the realm these days. So just, putting the graphics into perspective, that's pretty darn good. Especially when we're talking about a combined realm. I mean, Cenarian Circle brought a lot of groups on board. So once we merge with them, I mean, that's a much bigger pool that we have to come to the top of. So I think that, 20th after the combined, after the merger, I think that's awesome. Yeah,
and this expansion is still young, and as we saw last time, it's, some of these guilds are going to drop out and drop by the wayside. And again, it's a marathon and not a sprint, and we should be able to get our ranks up there. And Chris just typed into guild chat that there are like 500 guilds on our combined realms. So it's pretty good, top 5%.
Yeah, not shabby.
Okay. This is just to remind some people, in case you weren't aware of some of the other guilds we're maintaining. Ragequit on the Alley side, we only have 2 level 100s on there. One is Grid and one is Bakar, and we're going to obviously have to have Grid start making Rookmar groups so that we can bring all our little and get a chance at it. And then Area 52, we have Arbitrage over there, and for Area 52, if anybody's interested in doing some scouting parties to come over there, let us know. And basically, it's just a good place that we can go and look at and see a hugely, hugely active server. Yes, ask in all caps. It always works. For Ragequit. Okay, so I'm turning it over to Grid now.
Okay, so with all this talk about numbers and getting better, we all need help, and we do have a help needed section on the Google Plus community, and these are the things that we need. These are the things that we all need. So if you have them and you don't need them, rather than selling them at the auction house, since we all need these things, it would be really cool if you would put them in the bank or find out who needs them. Like when you go to your garden and pick those herbs, some of those that you don't necessarily use, drop them in the bank, because there are folks who make the potions that we all take advantage of. So, you know, drop those in there. The Savage Bloods, everybody's kind of collecting them and needing them, but because we all need them, we were talking about the possibility of having regular groups going out hunting to very quickly gather up the animals and so that they can get the fur and the meat and the Savage Blood so that they can upgrade their stuff. So we are looking to get a regular schedule so that we can get that stuff going. Or we all have mines. We go in there, you mine the stuff, and then you sell it. You know, if you don't need the black iron ore, if you're not a gem crafter or an engineer, you don't need it, drop it in the bank so that somebody else can use it. Same with the hides. If you're not a crafter that's using it, drop it in the bank so that your guildies can use it. If there's anything that's not on this list that you really need or want, you're, you know, kind of looking to get something, post it in the needs section of the Google Plus community. Okay, I didn't know this slide was here.
Actually, the slide is an older slide too. So yes, we do need to have more people to help out with dungeon runs. Yes, beware the sneaky slide. And scenarios no longer exist, so that should have been deleted.
Yeah. But you know what I thought of, and I probably should look in the bank. How are we doing with our funds in the bank? In the guild bank that we all use.
I will say based on our performance, I guess the way you sum up what our bank looks like is that guild repairs are strong with these ones.
Are we still solvent?
Yeah. We still have a positive balance sheet. I mean,
that's good.
You guys won't be able to repair anymore. So yeah, but we can always use a donation.
Austerity measures.
Yes, donations are definitely always you know, accepted, and everybody I believe should be able to go ahead and what you do is you open up the guild and you'll see it says deposit. You click on deposit, and you can put in as much gold as you want, as your conscience tells you should. But it's not. You know, so you don't have to do that. We don't have any mandatory tithing here in the guild. But if someone would like to make donations, I'm sure all of our repair bills would you know, appreciate that.
Yeah, Jocelyn asked Guild Chat whether scenarios count anymore. Do the Pandaria ones really matter anymore? Or is that changed?
It's no longer on the actual guild thing. So the cheat is, if you guys ever forget what you guys could do to help make gold for the guild, because they took away the cash flow piece. This is another reason why
that's right, yeah.
We're not really making as much money as we used to do. If you click on the guild tab and then click on info, you'll see under guild challenges it tells you what you can do. And so there's no more, you know, there's no more scenarios. There's 7 dungeons a week that we need to get because that'll give us 250 gold towards the guild a week. There's challenge modes, so that's a piece of the game that we really have largely ignored as a guild. We only did that. I think we only ever had one group ever complete a challenge dungeon run, and then we ran away screaming and never went after it.
Yeah, I never returned. Yeah.
It might be because it took us 6 hours to complete that dungeon, but hey, we completed it. So there's that.
Just bend some gear. It's a lot less painful.
You know, and then once a week. Downing one raid boss a week gives you 1,000 gold for the guild, so we're pretty good about getting that. And then there's also raided battlegrounds as well, which is another area that some more of us are exploring, and Cloud will talk a little bit about that during her piece. You know, there's some definitely raided battlegrounds areas there as we get more and more people who are interested in exploring the PvP side. So yes, Mass says regular dungeons might be better. Those 7 dungeons apply to whether they're normal or heroic. So if you just form a group of 3 or more guildies and run through 7 of them, even on normal, which you probably should be able to blow through, that will get us our 7 for the week. So, and it's 250 gold a pop. So you can't get any more gold more than after you get to complete the first 7 for the week. But that's different ways you can also help out the guild, is by running those with your guildies and helping go ahead and bring that guild funds in as well.
And that's a minimum of 3 guildies in a dungeon, correct?
That is correct. Yes, 3 out of 5.
What kind of eye level gear drops in those? Does anyone know offhand?
I want to say 600 in the normals, depending on which one you run through. 600 or less. Some of them might be 615. Like Everbloom, I think is 615 normal, and
Okay.
then Heroic is 630 across the board.
All right. So I mean, at the very least, if you've got a new 100 alt or something like that, I mean that'd be perfect, right? You get some experience with the alt, and some chances for loot too.
Mm-hmm.
And a way to practice those coaching skills, the skills that you got from your coach.
Well, exactly. You can always make your dungeon runs best practices runs.
Yeah. Take your coach with you and your mentor.
Yeah. Well, exactly, and that's a quick way to look at mentoring. It's also a quick way to see your performance because, again, like we said before, a lot of these dungeons do make you think about the different pieces that you need to worry about as far as understanding mechanics, getting your rotation down. Those are all live scenarios because you get interrupted just as much as you do in a raid. The big difference is the bosses don't hit as hard. So those are some different ways you can go ahead and practice as well.
Is that information brought into Ask Mr. Robot or just the raid information?
Just the raid. So the only other non-guild run you can get in is if you did an LFR. If you do an LFR and run it, it'll log the LFR data, and you'll be able to look at your LFR performance.
And as Izzy said in chat, it's a good way to get gear that can be disenchanted. And when we were talking about mats earlier, of course, those folks who are doing the enchanting, that green gear that you don't particularly want, 500 level gear that you really can't use, instead of vending it, a disenchanter can disenchant it and get draining dust to enchant your higher level gear. So think about those things before you vend them or get rid of them or sell them at the auction house.
So there's lots of different things you can do. There's always help that's needed. So there's lots of stuff you guys can contribute to the guild. And if you have questions or if you don't know what you need, how you can help us, you can always just ask us. So you can ask Kay or you can ask Kwapi or Grid or anybody what they need help with. So.
Well, yeah, and the other part of this too, I just want to throw in there is that what we've always done with each expansion is try to help folks out in terms of developing their gear set. So the stuff that's going into the that we're asking for folks to consider putting into the guild are going to help our crafters start crafting these higher level pieces that will eventually be a benefit to you too, right? So that's kind of the idea here is that we're all kind of pitching in, and hopefully we're all going to be benefiting from this cooperation that we're doing. So.
Well, exactly. I mean, in an ideal world, it would be awesome if we had so many bloods out there that you could go ahead and you could basically just upgrade. You can make a 640 crafted piece, and there'd be an upgrade. There'll be the 4 levels of upgrade, so you can go immediately from a 640 to a 680 once 6.1 comes out. So, that's the ideal. The ideal would be something along the lines of getting that done. As far as gear as a designated spot, there is not one, Commander. If you want to just mail that to Picha, I can go ahead and just disenchant it as well. The other thing is probably what I'll do is I'll go through and clean out the bank because it's getting messy again. So I'll go ahead and go after it and probably clean up some of the stuff to go ahead and make a spot. So that would be something else we can do. Yeah, exactly. Jocelyn just posted another thing you can do, Commander, is you can talk to anybody who is on the online at the same time and see if they have an enchanting shack. And then basically what you do is you form a group and then you view your party leader's garrison, and then you're able to go ahead and walk into their garrison, and you'll go ahead and disenchant that. All right, next up is going to be, like I said, I see some people saying they need to go ahead and hop off. We'll go ahead and have Kay talk about awards, and we'll go through that.
Okay, we'll go through these quickly. First of all, the VEJ Virtual Education Readers' Choice Awards. This happened at the same time like the expansion came out, so we didn't put it into any of the overviews of the expansion. So we're going to catch up
that's
on
what
them.
happened.
Yes, tonight. Yeah, and also because there's the Academy Awards. So let's get started quickly. Favorite virtual world, environment, or game is World of Warcraft.
Well, of course.
So these are the people who go into it for a second. Like, so if you think about the people who are in Virtual Pioneers, people who are involved with the virtual world's best practices, people who are in VISTE, who are the Virginia Society for Technology in Education, people who are in ISTE. These are so the next one now. The person who taught, inspired, or helped you learn the most in a we might know this person. I'm not going to go through everybody. So next is favorite educational event in a game. Inevitable Betrayal Weekend Webinars. Thank you for nominating and voting, everyone. Next one. Favorite go-to place for information about what's happening in virtual worlds. It's our Google Plus community.
Was this a sweep?
No, actually I have the stats at the end. So we didn't. Okay, so favorite fashion designer, anybody?
Shemai.
No.
Yes, Chris, again, it's not coming across.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, Shemai House of Fashion is the winner. Okay, go to the next screen because we'll see if this keeps moving or not. Chris is going to do a quick adjustment. Okay, go ahead, click on it. We got it now, Shemai House of Fashion, 2 years in a row. Obviously, those fashion shows as publicity pay off. This one, favorite virtual world designers. Hit it. 2 of our guildies won.
Oh, very cool.
So if you were at ISTE, this is Vasily, or as you might know him, Blue. And the other virtual world designer, they were in a tie, is our very own Zena Luna. So they were the winners. They do most of their work in Second Life. Best virtual world blog, 2nd year in a row again, Grid Jumper.
Yay, Grid.
Next one. Favorite educational gaming guild? Yep, I know. Okay, guys. What we're doing is we are making an impact. Okay. So,
or we're stuffing the ballot box. One of the two. I don't know.
Maybe
no,
we need
actually,
an infographic.
he set it up this time that you could not.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so it's not like you can go back and vote again. She set it up that they were recorded. Most innovative use of a virtual world. We got it with Inevitable Betrayal. We got a lot of competition on that one. It wasn't like the Educational Gaming Guild, you know? It was,
very cool.
And then this one is the funniest one, okay? Because we were really competing with some serious recording. But look what came out on top for some reason.
Really?
State of the Guild.
State of the Guild?
State of the Guild is the best development recording.
Was it one of our particularly long ones? Do we know? Is it?
No, it was just it was the one. It was just in general. So it was the whole list. Okay, so we only won 10 out of 27, so we didn't sweep. Just wanted to tell you.
Oh,
okay.
Only 10 out of 27. Maybe next year.
Yes. Okay, so basically just skip through that, and just to let you know that ISTE is looking for nomination awards, and I'll put this up in our site. So just click through, Chris, just to let people know. There are 2 that are probably very relevant for people in our guild. There's the Games and Sims Network one, and there and both Games and Sims and then the other one, Virtual Pioneer, have made their awards so they aren't onerous, like maybe some of the other ones that are asking for people's CV and to write a case study along with nominating somebody. So ours, really quick, ours is 200 words linked to supporting documents. Okay, and then the next one is Virtual Pioneers. They want 300 extra words, and then again, linked to any supporting docs, websites, videos, everything else. Quickly for our upcoming events, we will be doing Big G Games, or What Makes Games Good, this Wednesday. On March 18th, Lee Sheldon through EdWeb webinar, the author of the book The Multiplayer Classroom, he will be doing an EdWeb webinar. So we all get to have a talk with the author. VWEPE wants us to do something social in World of Warcraft. Some of us were throwing the idea around about something with pink-haired gnomes. We can talk about that more. Our spring book club will be starting March 21st to April 10th. The first track will be interactive fiction with Sherry Jones, and then we really lucked out because then we're reading The Multiplayer Classroom, and we're starting it right after having heard the author of The Multiplayer Classroom. And now
Cool.
we will be turning it over to...
Hello?
Yep.
I've had an interesting
Hello?
evening.
Yes.
I've had an interesting
Cloud.
evening.
Hi,
Yes.
Cloud.
Yes, we have started doing PvP runs, and this has been a learning experience for me. In fact, when I first started planning these, the song Blaze of Glory started going off in my head. I started hearing Bon Jovi in my head, which is really scary since I never listened to Bon Jovi in my life. Anyway, it just seemed like an apropos name for it because of the fact that either you're going down in a blaze of glory or else we're making other people go down in a blaze of glory. So it's lots and lots of fun. So we have been doing it. Right now it's kind of every other week. We've been ending up with about 10 people. We've had to break into 2 groups. And right now we're doing random battlegrounds. The great thing about it is that we've had really great help with us. Spite was there. Thalie came this last time, who has had a lot of experience. Hemet, Spite, they really came along and they've done a lot of PvP before, and so they were able to give us who are fairly new at it tips and kind of let us know the strategy of the different battlegrounds we're doing. Still not one Alterac Valley. That's still pretty much of a lose-lose, but some of the other ones, there were several wins Friday night, so yay, and getting PvP gear. So it's a lot of fun, and hopefully we'll get to the point where we can start doing the rated battlegrounds to get more achievements and gold and stuff for the guild. So that's the PvP. All right, and this goes back to what Grid was talking about with Help Wanted. I've decided to name it the Hemet Nesingwary Weekly Big Game Hunt. And so right now I think people have kind of been scheduling one a week, and so we need to know when you're available and what would be the best time, because when one group went the last time, I know I wasn't around. That's when I'm at church, so I wasn't able to be there. So I thought I would try to get an idea of when people can go and then sort of schedule a couple of weekly runs so that we can get the inventory built up on Sumptuous Fur and Savage Bloods and things like that, particularly since you do need a tank, a heals, and DPS. It seems to help if you have those when you're hunting these big critters. And so right now I'm just looking at maybe 2 per week, and maybe one on Sunday and maybe one Tuesdays before the guild run. If you'll go to the next slide. Bam, I created a Google form.
Oh, very cool.
And so there is the link is there, and I will post the link in on the Google Plus community. And what it's asking is just basically, what's the name of your tomb, what's your spec, when are you available, et cetera, and I'll take that information and try to put together a couple of times a week that will be convenient to most people to go out and go hunting. Ta-da! I'm done.
Awesome.
And Trish is like, I'm done. I'm out. So, thanks a lot, Trish.
By the way.
So next up, we have Jocelyn going to talk about what's happening, because something's happening here.
The R-rated portion of our
Yeah,
show.
I'm very sorry for the naked blood elf models. That's what they had on Wowhead. Although I found another one where it actually has them clothed and you can put your character name in and see it. So I'm sorry if the naked blood elves offend you. Although we should have put bars over some of it, I guess. So in 6.1, they're going to be making adding a little stuff and changing some stuff up. Updated Blood Elf models are finally making it in when they've updated almost everything else. They're integrating Twitter, and they're also putting a selfie camera in. They're doing Heirloom Collection tab, and for so many, you get a mount because you get an achievement. And he skipped over my scene. Oh, well, I can just go more into it. I don't care. Yeah, there's new Dark Moon Fair games, new pets. They've done a lot of stuff with garrisons. They've changed the professions up a little bit, and I didn't go into it too much because there was just a lot. They're adding toys. They've got better rewards for challenge mode, which I don't think any of us have done, and the super rare mount, which I could not find a picture of it, but it's kind of like Rookmar, only purple.
Oh, cool.
And it's supposed to be like really hard to find, and some are saying it's like kind of like you follow clues to go find it, or you just have to sit there and wait for something to spawn. It's weird. So more on the Twitter and selfie camera. The Twitter thing, if we're a group and we've downed a boss, there'll come up a little W with like the sound thing, and it'll be like, hey, you can post this to Twitter. And on Twitter you can actually choose if you do it. You don't have to, but it will be connected to all your characters on your account unless you log out and change it. The selfies, you will get a mission with your followers called Field Photography, and that's where you get the basic one, and sometime later you'll get the upgrade kit from Lend Some Hands mission. It'll upgrade it to the purple, and you'll have different camera settings, like you can do like the graveyard background or some weird stuff. There's an achievement, Field Photographer, that will give you the title. To get it, you will have to go through Azeroth and meet a criteria of them all. It was a lot.
Oh, cool.
I think there's even one in Deepholm you've got to go to, I think, or maybe it's the raid. I'm not sure. But yay! Old World parties, here we come.
I know I was going to say only Blizz could go ahead and make taking selfies an achieve that requires treadmilling. You go ahead and grind. I can see it. I've got to take.
Oh wow! Yeah.
I got to see people saying, "I can't raid now. I have to go take 2 more selfies before."
I gotta have this.
Well, I'm willing.
I gotta be the Field Photographer.
I'm sort of waiting for the first reports of like selfie-induced raid wipes. That's gotta be inevitable.
I'm not planning that at all. No, not at all.
Yeah, that'll be the excuse. Sorry, I was taking a selfie.
Yeah, my bad. Sorry about the poll.
Hey, I wanted a picture with girl. Run away! He didn't like the camera.
I told you not to use flash.
Yeah, the camera selfie thing is seeming really, really quick and easy. The heirloom tab, it's going to be located where your toy box is, where you have your toys, your mounts, your pets. If you have heirlooms already before 6.1, just log on into the tune that has them. If you don't remember it, like I don't, I'll be logging on every tune, and it will automatically add them.
Be logging in every tune I have.
So,
Where's
yes,
that
I will have spam of, hey, here I am. Nope, not anymore. They're grouped by slot. Like, if you have everyone for your back, they'll be all there. When you want it for, like, a new tune or something, you just have to click it, and it'll appear, like, right-click it. If you have copies that are enchanted, when you make them from the tab, they will not be enchanted. You will either have to send your enchanted ones over or re-enchant.
So
There are some heirlooms you can get from archaeology that do not count in this. There's like that ugly not Sylvanas, a Shar address. They're just like bleh. The garrison heirlooms, they will count, but they're hidden if you don't already have them. So like if somebody didn't get to do Gary, and they didn't get any, it won't show up to where they can see it because they're no longer attainable. And if you complete all these, like 35 I think heirlooms, you get a mount that you can use at level 1.
Oh, sweet.
Nice.
And you get it for Horde and
awesome.
Alliance, and in the next screen I actually see it, and they were actually kind of funny because, yeah, you get to boss somebody around to drive you places. You'll get there's like 4 achievements. If you get 1, 5, 15, or 35, and if you have 35 heirlooms, you get this mount. You use it at level 1, well, you can. If you have a Gary heirloom and you have multiples of it, the highest level will be there, and only one of them count towards the achievements. Yeah, and you have the Alliance. He'll be like, transportation is a precise business for the Horde. Why drive yourself around when you can hire someone else to do it for you? And they kind of remind me of the Mechanohogs just a little bit.
I love the sidecar.
I do. Yeah, they look good. They're fun.
I think it's the same on the Horde.
See, I'm waiting for a Tauren to be on that orc one.
Oh, that's gonna be huge.
Try a Blood Elf driving a Tauren around. It's great. I feel like my card's leaning over. Oh, heirlooms purchased in 6.1 are only going to be 1 to 60 when currently they're 1 to 80. They've also added some new ones that are amulets, I guess necklaces. They also have a thing to do health. Your heirlooms that were above the 60, like this one, they will be saying they are upgrade level 1 of 2. You can upgrade your heirlooms by quest. Darkmoon Fair has them for sale. Argent Tournament has them for sale. Holidays have them for sale, and gold. So if you want them to go all the way up to 100, you upgrade it. Oh, and you can still get it from PvP and from the guild. They're still there, but they're also supposed to be cheapers.
Cool.
Which is unfair. I had to spend all that gold, and what was it? Valor point? Not Valor points. Justice points.
It's inflation.
Yeah.
Or deflation.
I think it's deflation, yeah. And I know Amendable had asked about the heirlooms before. Why would you want them? If you're creating a tune and you want to level up quicker without having to do a boost, these will give you, like, each piece. Some of them give you 10% experience increase. Some give you 5%. So they help you level, and sometimes they're better than the greens. Sometimes they're not, so you just kind of have to go with it. Even if you're just doing quests and you put them on to turn in your quest, it gives you extra experience. So
yeah, exactly.
It's nice to have.
Right now, if you have the legs, the chest, the shoulder, what else is there? The back and the headpiece, and there's also a ring you can get from the. Well, you could get it. You could get it from the fishing. I don't know if they can still do the tournaments or not. But anyways, if you did that, you can get up to almost an increase of 45%. And plus with the guild, you get an increase, I believe, of 55% leveling experience for everything that you do if you're less than level 100, or I should say, if you still have if you have all the heirlooms on. So those are things you can do. Once you get above the level, I don't believe the XP boost works anymore, and they're treated like a level 1 gear, so you die pretty quickly if you try to wear it beyond that. So, but yeah, definitely the heirlooms, awesome for leveling your alts. and getting your alts to where you need them to, where you want them to be, even without the boost.
And I think they say they only go up to level 90. I think they do that for each expansion. Yeah. You don't get to use the heirlooms until the next expansion comes out or close to it. And these say they only go up to level 90, and you can get some that go to a level 100, so maybe they did change that. What's my next one? Oh, Dark Moon Fair. They only added one game. I thought they actually added a couple, but it's basically a race around the thing. It's actually the next slide, I think, but that's okay. That was my fault for ordering them. You get an option to get some more toys, some more vanity items. You get like a taunt controller, and you hit targets about 45 times. And Dark Moon Ring Flinger, you get 10 rings on the turtle. You do a race around the thing, and then you get like an achievement for doing it on 4 special racing modes, I think, and they're set each day. Everybody gets the same one. I didn't really cover that much. I didn't like the idea of a race. Everybody already hogs my rings. So the big additions are actually in the garrison. There's new professional recipes that are going to be available by PCs that stop into your town hall. They will also have a daily quest for primal spirits, so you can buy them, and you get a stage 4 for the crafted items. Followers will have the missions as well. If they have the profession traits, it will increase mission success. You also get rush orders, which will do 5 work orders at once instead of all. And then we get a create all button, so instead of having to click 40 times start work order, you can hit create all.
Oh, that's great.
Or you can select. Yeah, I was happy about that one. I just sat there and did 16 earlier, and I was like, why couldn't this be over? Yeah, next one. They're going to install a Garrison jukebox to where you can change your music. Basically, it's like 100% drop rate when you go and gather all this stuff from different areas, and then you'll get some music, but then there's some other musics that you can go and kill bosses. Like I saw Kel'Thuzad you have to kill, but it's not 100% drop rate, so we might have to beat them a lot. I'm up for killing Kel'Thuzad a lot. I like killing him. But, you know, you follow your NPC, the guy, for Horde, it's the Strix. He'll tell you, like, a clue, and you can go find the music so you can have a different one. Who doesn't want to change their music? It sounds kind of dull. You'll get new daily quests. Like I said, there'll be an NPC that stops in, and it's completely random. They've talked about on Wowhead how they might start selling their NPCs because it's different for everybody. You'll get daily dungeon quests, which will make us go out and do more dungeons. It will contain like a 630, 645, or 655 token like you get from the missions. A bounty quest will give you payout. You do this with like 3 or more, and you get a Hexus crystals, level 45 or level 650. Sorry, level 45, 645 and 655 tokens. Weekly raid quest with the same tokens, and Harrison Jones will eventually become a follower because you get Relic Hunter quest and you have to do so many to get him as a follower. Item level for the followers have increased to 645. There's also a way you can shrink your bodyguards. Thank you. Tormok is huge. I don't know how many times I click him. You also get 2 new NPCs in the garrison who sell followers. So now we don't have to have, well, we do have to have an inn. But like if you choose the Lumbermare in Gorgon, you can buy some of the followers. They're sold as contracts, so they're about 50 gold, I think is what it said. Garona Half-Orcan will be the legendary follower that they're adding. Harrison Jones, you have to get him through an achievement, Don't Call Me Junior, where you collect so many artifacts from the missions. And then there's a monk follower. You just go outside and talk to him, and you can recruit him. He's really the easiest one. There's a daily quest to turn in excess scraps for the follow upgrades if you have a war mill. The world famous Ring of Blood will give you a 615 follower token, or item level. And the salvage art only rewards follower enhancement tokens, not set tokens. They drop the eye level gains, but not the massive ones. So they made it harder for cheating. They're making it less easy, I guess. It's the best way to say it. I'm ready for the next. I think I'm falling asleep, sorry. The garrison missions, you will get an exploration one where you just like scout it. You get some more archaeology. They're doing a little bit more with the archaeology, which is nice because otherwise you just went around, gathered, and put together stuff. The treasure maps are going to be like what everybody will want. And before you had to discover the whole area before you could buy the map. Now you can go on the mission to get the map. You send your followers out. The item level, you know, you will get some for Blackrock Foundry since we had it for the other one. Also, level 3 profession buildings will unlock special profession missions like Alchemy has a rare flower and Urban Fuse. You'll get some for blacksmithing. They're all like 600, so just basically a level 100 follower can do it instead of having like the 645 or whatever. And if you have the profession trait on them, it'll increase the chance of success. So, a lot of information, and I didn't talk about it much. I'm trying to get done. This is a lot of information.
It's okay, Jocelyn. What we're going to do is we're going to put your slides up. We're going to put a link to all these slides, and we will list which slides are yours so people can go back ahead and look at them. It's just like being a teacher. You know, you're going to just gloss over the big stuff and then make them read for the rest, right?
Hey, and I can also just tell them, go to Wowhead, because that's where I got everything from. Wowhead has more in-depth guides. I copy-pasted what I wanted. In the professions, there's a lot. I mean, the article I linked on the Google Plus community, it had somebody stocked up like a whole guild bank full of mats, and I think Spite was like, why didn't I start stacking up sooner? The profession updates.
And I think like the blood, especially the bloods, were really impressive that they had that many.
Yeah, they must have been like hunting forever.
Oh yeah, that's you know, that's crazy time. Don't have a job. Okay.
Yeah, basically all that. This is kind of like the picture is kind of like the quest where you can trade so many for like a primal spirit or the recipe. So I mean, it's like, yeah. See, I'm making Commander fall asleep, so I'm not gonna go over this whole thing.
No, he's falling asleep regardless. Don't worry about it. And a lot of people are saying that they have to go to work. So.
East Coasties are doing, late in their evenings.
Yeah, these NPCs will be in your town hall, so yeah, it's gonna be all on there. And I think I'm done, so.
Okay, so we will end up really quickly. Chris, in case we want to get the fish done, I know last lesson now.
What?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought Chris was going to come on mic. I was asking him to post how many fish we had left. Because
yeah, we've got to be getting pretty close to.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Achieve.
Last time we only need 80. We need 57 more. Okay, everybody. Anybody who is in front of a pool, go ahead and type it in guild chat so that other people can look for you. So, because 57, that's really quick. And we're going to be ending up now anyway. Okay, we'll also post this as a separate post in the Google Plus community. Okay, so Twitter. The Twitter's for selfies. first of all, some people, like Ja'Cory said, they had made a Twitter account before. And we can certainly help you and give you links, and we can do a hangout and help you make one. So if you need any help, I'd say get with me or Grid. They can get with you too.
Yeah, yeah.
And we'll help you make a Twitter account. But I'm just throwing these out there as some that you might want to follow. Blizzard CS is actually Blizzard's help desk. So whenever things are down or they're looking at how long it is until they can go ahead and they can respond to you, they'll post hours there. The next one, I'm just putting here the heliocentric. This is the person who wrote the blog So You Think You Can Heal. So I follow them because I think they're fun. Okay, next, and yeah, Jocelyn's saying lots of different networks. The next one, Game Sim Network. I think Grid might actually post things there. So if you ever want to follow some stuff, she's constantly putting stuff there. And then, real quickly, and I'll have us vote on it. Okay, here are some of the hashtags out there already that people use for World of Warcraft. They use WoW, but then sometimes hashtag WoW, you get people just wanting to express like, oh, isn't this great? WD, Warlords of Draenor, but some people post their workout of the day there. So some other people have been putting things like hashtag Warlords and hashtag Warcraft. That pretty much limits it so that you don't see the other ones. But it is open, and these hashtags change. So it could obviously, it could obviously be something new developed. Maybe WoW selfie will take off or something like that. We don't know, and it might be a hashtag we decide to use. But we need a guild hashtag. We already used metagame for the book club. And then I put some of these things here like don't die alone, which we use a lot. And if we didn't put punctuation in there and strung it all together, it'd be fine. I put die and do over, but then we looked at it and we went, it looks like dover and makes no sense. Yeah, and Chris just posted, maybe we want to put DDA, die, don't die alone, or something like that. But when I checked IB, lots of people are using IB for like random stuff. So if you just look for that hashtag, you might get stuck with a lot of different things. And so what I'm saying is basically, why don't we go try out some hashtags and figure out which one? But we'll post this. This is basically all we have. This is the end of the guild. Does anybody? Oh, the other thing I was going to say, we do have a Flickr site. I have no idea if it's going to, once you take your selfie pictures, if it's going to be easy to get those pictures or not. But if you find out you have ones that you particularly like, put them up in our Flickr account. Well, that's what I was wondering. I don't know yet. We'll see if it integrates, or maybe they just go out on Twitter, and maybe they'll be hard to pull down. So I don't know. So we can figure out that. So basically, that is the end of our State of the Guild, and it went long, but we had a lot of yeah. So I guess we can end it with if Chris wants to report on how many fish we have, we'll just end it here.
Alrighty, so according to our current report, we have 49,952 fish caught.
Oh, wow.
From pools. So we need 48 more.
That's too close.
So some people will not be signing off. But anyways, thank you everyone for watching. Thank you everyone for staying awake. Hello, and yes, finally, for those of you watching this recording, we are done. So everyone have a good night. We'll be in here fishing for a bit longer.
Yeah.
But everyone have a wonderful day and night, or whenever you're watching this. And talk to you guys later. Bye.
Be safe out there.
Bye.